so that you can be sated in a sinister,
safely,
but not satanic way.
Safely and tent are two words that don't go together.
I'm sure that people are going to exercise some very important things tonight. I'm actually going to do something very modest. I don't have much confidence in my exorcism ability at the moment. So before I even explain what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a little back history, a little backstory. I started teaching myself to play guitar when I was a teenager, and I learned the obvious things like tuning into the frets and tuning with harmonics. I learned things like arpeggiated 6/8 from reading a Leonard Cohen songbook. Traveling lady, stay a while until night is over. And that's the kind of thing I used to play when I was a teenager. I was a traveling guy with a 12-string acoustic guitar and sometimes a fiddle and sometimes a harmonica that would hitchhike around the country.
That was when I was between ages 17 and 19. One of the things that I did with the 12-string was tune the pairs of strings to different pitches so that I could play one side of the pair and the other side of the pair and play two different notes. So it was actually 12 different pitches that I had to pick from rather than 4 pairs of the same pitches and 2 pairs of pitches that were an octave apart.
I learned things like Frank Zappa's King Kong, which is in D-flat major, which doesn't allow a person to play any open strings if the guitar is tuned as it conventionally is.
And I taught myself scales that were scales other than major and minor ones, such as this whole tone scale.
And then I learned chord positions, and this is a crucial thing here. Typically people play the lower chord positions primarily, and many people don't get into things like bar chords. But I thought it was important if I was going to be a half-decent guitarist, which I'm not sure I ever really achieved, for me to do things like play a little more difficult guitar chords like this, which was a G-flat minor, which could be more easily played like this. Now, one of the things that I then started getting annoyed by is people using capos. Capos are very common, and singer-songwriters, in my opinion, overuse them. So it's one of my trivial pet peeves that when someone plays guitar and they play with a capo, I get annoyed by them because I think, couldn't you at least learn to play the bar chords? Now, the thing is that if one were to put a capo across the 5th fret here, for example, that they would lose the E, F, F sharp, G, and G sharp. So they lose 5 notes, which to me seems like a pretty big deal because the guitar really doesn't have that big of a range. So you're losing 5 notes too many. So I was thinking that what I'll do tonight is exorcise capo playing, which I had seen people do here at the Deferrero City. So I think maybe it's necessary for this specific place. Now, I thought, well, how can I do this? And I was thinking, well, what are some of the incredibly lazy things that some people do? So I was doing a little research online, and I came up with this device here. I don't know whether anybody's ever seen this before. It's called an easy fret, I think. Does anybody know this device? This is even worse. This is even more of a crime against musicianship than capos are. What you do is you put this over the first 3 frets. I couldn't resist it when I saw it. I thought it was one of the stupidest things I've ever. And then, instead of having to put creases in your fingers, which is what happens when you're playing stringed instruments, especially ones with without the greatest neck orientation, and you press buttons instead of actually putting your fingers down on the string. That just popped in my mind. So I thought, okay, well, I've got to have one of those. Maybe I'll start doing an exorcism by becoming incredibly lazy with the guitar playing and just trying to detach myself from having to have any skill whatsoever. So I could just... I could just hit the buttons. But then I thought, well, I at least have to have some capos. So I ordered 6 capos from Hong Kong and I didn't get them, so I guess I got ripped off. And then I bought 2 of the kind that weren't really what I wanted, and I decided to modify them. Can people see this? So I made 2 capos that don't stretch all the way across the strings, and I gave them a right angle. So that basically it makes them useless for the conventional purpose of the capo, but makes it funnier for me. So here's one. Doesn't really work that well, but I'm not really concerned with that. And then I'm going to put the other one on. I like this one more. This one works a little bit better. I like that it's longer. But I have to put it on from the other side, which is not really correct. So that's pretty good. I've got a few things going to make my life easier for me. Now this thing is called an EVO. Many of you are probably familiar with it. They're kind of expensive considering that they're not really that much. But I do like the way they sound. So, you know, you turn this little light on and then you put it over top of the pickup. Voila! You don't even necessarily have to touch the guitar at all. You can be playing guitar. So I think that's pretty good. So now I realize that I can start doing things like just unscrewing. Unscrewing the capo, and then screwing it back on again, or just pressing down on it. Instead of necessarily having to fret it myself. Then I thought, of course, the best I can do is to just switch to a different type of instrument that doesn't require the use of the, or wouldn't work with a capo at all. So I'm switching to an instrument that I bought from the now political candidate, Mike Devine, formerly known as Aelmore. So the nifty decorations on this MIDI guitar
It's a fundraiser tonight if you're looking for something to do afterwards. At Kativa.
Is doing me, it's fine. I gave it a shot. Thank you. All right.